Okay, so I have some stuff I wanted to talk about this morning. You may hear the washer in there trying to escape the room because I started a load. So, anyways, this morning I woke up early before Stella was over there snoring, and it wasn't even 4. And when I got up, when I go out, it's always like if it's almost 4, I'll be like, okay, I can get up. And so it was almost 4, and I felt rested. So I got up, and I always look forward to my morning tea. I swear, it's my drive to get up in the morning. It's like, that first morning cup of tea is just so spectacular. So anyways, I was watching some TikToks, and there's somebody who apparently, it seems to me, because I did it before, where I shared that whole flat earth documentary in 3-minute segments. And so this person seems to have done the same thing. They've got a whole flat earth documentary or a whole series or something about it, because it's a lot of that same information. And so he had a thing about the rainbow, and explaining why it's arched like that with the firmament, and how it reflects, and how water works, and how it's always around us, because this is what's so cool. So there's a couple things I wanted to talk about, because it was like these things, it's like when the pieces all start coming together in a puzzle. It's like, I see something. I see the picture. So anyways, if the firmament, because I've talked about this before, this reality, like we're actually really not a globe spinning out here. We're actually just like a bubble on a leaf. We're just like a bubble on a leaf, like a raindrop on a leaf. And this raindrop that's on this leaf, that is full of what we think of as being so beautiful, trees and plants and all that stuff that can thrive and grow in this environment. Just like if you have a petri dish and what can grow in that environment. So this environment is created for what grows in it. And so and like I had said before, like your higher self, if you think of your higher self out in space, the area that is outside of here, what is around us, and where the stars, where all of this extra energy is, all of these beings that aren't embodied are out, and trying to communicate with us, because the consciousness is trying to communicate. Oh, and yesterday I saw this movie, and I brought my chair back out. I couldn't take that one anymore. I kept trying to pull my hair out. So anyways, I got my chair back out. So in this movie I saw yesterday, this kid was he was the scientific kid with his friends, he was the brain. And he said how spectacular the universe is. And it's almost like the universe is a consciousness trying to understand itself. It's like, what? That's exactly what it is. So, anyway, so if you think of your higher self as, like in meditation, because I think that can kind of make sense to people. Like everything that people try and imagine it in a 3-dimensional, like how does it fit in the dollhouse? But you got to start looking outside of the dollhouse, because not everything fits in the dollhouse. So if you think of your higher self as like in a meditation, and it's projecting, like it's dreaming of you, just like why you have to have an expiration date. How long do you want your higher self to focus on you? You've got a contracted situation that your higher self is projecting itself into for that experience, so that all the people, all of the beings, all of the souls that are in your orbit can grow and expand themselves from whatever situation that you have projected yourself into. So you are, all of the stars around us and stuff is consciousness. It is souls just out there, and they're just out there. It looks like dancing out in space. They're just, it's it's all color and vibration, movement, and music. We create the music. Just like what I was saying the other day with all of the wind chimes, you know. And sometimes I'll be in the house, you know, be dead quiet, and then all of a sudden, you know, I'll start hearing certain ones ding. I'll think, oh, it's getting windy. And then there's certain ones, like I have some heavy bells and stuff, like cowbells. I have a whole set of those. And if those start ringing, you know, like, oh, it's really whipping through there. So I was talking about, like, when you have a whole bunch of different types of wind chimes, how it's a beautiful tune. You can hear the music, that because it has this thing that vibrates the sound, that when the wind goes through, and it makes a beautiful melody outside. But then also, if you have all of these different ones, you can read how strong the wind really is. So, you know, I did a little thing about that, but it is all about this music and color and vibration. So we are, when we're not, like right now, people can, you know, if a 3D situation, you have to go and learn how to make music, how to make it. But if you are outside of your body, your being is music. So, you know, I mean, I know it's hard for some people to really grasp, but vibration, vibration and color and movement and music, it's all goes in together. It's all like the same thing. So, in this video thing, he was showing how the rainbow creates like this prism of light. Like, he was showing how the light, I'm going to share the TikToks. There's 5 of them. I'm going to share them so you can go in and watch, because I can't explain stuff. Like, I can go in and listen to what people say and understand it. But, you know, for me to try and explain it, then I'm, you know, I always think it's better if you go in and watch it for yourself and let yourself understand it to its level, instead of trying to struggle with what I'm trying to explain. Because, you know, we all have our own absorption, our own understanding of things. So, you know, it's better to always do your own research. Even if somebody tells you something and, you know, it makes sense, just look into it a little, just so you can see, like, is this real? Does this make sense? You know, and then you will also have a strong inner knowing, you know, a resonance, understanding of the information. So, but everybody's at different levels. So don't get put off if something is like, oh, no way, that doesn't make any sense. It all fits together. You just have to start following the rabbit trail. You got to start following the breadcrumbs and expanding yourself outside of the dollhouse so that you can have a deeper understanding of what this place is. Because this place is very different than what they say. I say this all the time. And so when he was showing about the way the rainbow, why it arches and how it reflects and stuff like that, and he was showing with the sprinkler how it picks up on the reflection of the firmament that's above us. So if we were in a bubble and it had a reflection and it's moisture, like I said, everything is plasma. People think like space is air or something, but it's like a plasma. It's like it has a thickness to it. So it has, you know, like a weight to it. It is how vibration, you know, what I talk about with the vibration and the heaviness, and why this place has got so much heaviness, because of the vibration, why it's so low. And so, you know, the further you would go out, the thinner it would get. Just like if in your blood, your plasma would be thicker and heavier, the more unhealthy you were. The more healthy you were, it would be a lot more clearer and runnier. Like I said before, like when I worked at the hospital, you know, and they spin the blood so they can separate it, so they can do different tests on either the plasma or the packed blood cells. There's a difference in different people's plasma. Not everybody's plasma looks exactly the same. And, you know, and it can be thick, it can be not very much of it. It can be, oh, beautiful golden, like just a beautiful liquid. Almost kind of looks like a dark kind of urine, because you don't want your urine to be dark. Like if you go to the bathroom and you notice your urine is dark or really smelly or, too colored, then you need to increase your fluids. You're probably dehydrated. So, and that's something that comes out of you that you can tell. Also, how people go to the bathroom. The whole thing of getting stuff out should be so you can, it's like tuning into your body, what's working and what's not working. And how do I get it to start working? Oh, which I want to say real quick too, is I ran to the store yesterday. So I got a couple joints. I was so excited. And got a couple things at the store. And, all the mandates are lifted. It's so weird because you go up, and the cashiers have a face again. Like everybody has a face. But there's a couple people, right, that still don't have a face. And they definitely appear to be sickly. So, they could just be really like, maybe they have a depleted immune system and they are wearing it to protect themselves. I'm not sure if it's out of fear or what, that's a personal thing. So, but there was a guy in front of me who was unhealthy and, all dazzled up. And then a guy behind me who was like, he had to be 2.5 times the size he should have been. I mean, he had so much extra, so much padding around him, you know what I mean? And so he just went straight in the door and straight into the line. And at this little market, it has the liquor, cigarettes, and stuff like that all behind the counter. And so while he's waiting in line, he didn't have anything, and the cashier's waiting for me to pay. He says to the guy, "Is what you want behind me?" And he said, "Yeah, I want a bottle of black velvet," or something like that. Like, ooh, that's some hard shit. Some black velvet. And that was all he was getting. And I just, I just saw him as like, see, this is the whole thing, is how many people surrender their health. They don't realize that their health is up to them. Their health and how they take care of themselves is up to them. And rather than, focusing on his health and taking good care of himself, he's focusing on his addiction or whatever, because, there should always be that point where something turns on where you say, wait a minute, I'm not taking good care of myself. Wait a minute, I've got an addiction here. Wait a minute, I'm distracting myself. Whatever it is, it's up to us to wake up to that truth in ourselves. So anyways, he wasn't there yet. And he was you could tell he was really sickly. He had a cane. He was way, way huge for himself. And he, was shuffling. And I would say he was probably my age or younger, and that is one thing. When you see young people, even if they think like they're old and they've stopped taking care of themselves and stuff like that, it really becomes a lot more clear as the people age, because there's a big difference in people who still give themselves value and people who have given up on themselves. And when you give up on yourself, it's usually due to pain and you just don't know what to do. You're just not functioning. You think everybody else in the world is functioning better than you. And you're carrying this pain and you're just resentful of yourself. You're resentful of life, and life is so hard. And so, a lot of people just give up and they're just like, I surrender. Take me, Lord Jesus. And so they just, it's like a downhill spiral of just not caring. And that's why I believe so many people age themselves and die. But it's part of the experience. Just like I said earlier, you can't stay here forever. You come for an experience to learn. So everything is for learning. And it's just people have forgotten that. But it's not just forgotten. They just haven't learned that yet. And that's why I know I'm here, is to help people understand, to teach people these things. And because it wouldn't be this strong inside of me. I mean, I can barely function other than this kind of stuff. So anyways, when it was showing about the firmament and how the rainbow light reflects with the water. So really, that light that we see with those little color spots, like I said before, when my eyes started going bad, I started seeing beyond what the picture in front of me is. I have to focus on what I'm trying to see. I have to try and, let my eyes adjust so that I can see something. But when I'm just like sitting here and looking out, I see beyond what there is. And so I've said before how everything looks like these little tiny color fragments and stuff. And so he was showing how the rainbow is a reflection of the firmament. That's why it's arched. And how the light refracts through the water. But it's because that is around us everywhere. Those colors that create the rainbow is the projection of color that comes in, that we project ourselves into, that we birth ourselves into this color fragmented reality so that we can experience ourselves. That's why I keep talking about, like, it's so magnificent. If people could really understand what they're doing to be here, they would understand there is no God above you. You are your God. You are the projection of self, that you are projecting yourself into a reality to have an experience. And there's so many people, like, especially a lot of with, some of the people who are really into the firmament part of it, because it's all about in the Bible. And so they try and, wrap it around, the creator. The creators are us. We are the creators, the people who are higher vibration, the higher, the souls, the higher selves. They are the ones who, like, oh, look, we can create a reality. We can go in and we can project ourselves so we can understand ourselves better. Because when you're out there in space and you're just color, movement, dancing around, and your consciousness speaking to one another and existing, and you can, project yourself into any reality so that you can experience. That's what your dreams should be showing you. But when you get yourself projected into this, like, those people all want to think like, God created this, and I'm not really sure how it all works in their heads. I just know that there's stuff that they're trying to put together that don't go together. They're trying to make sense of something, but it's just because they are still focused on what they're told. They haven't really expanded their thinking yet. They haven't started looking outside of the box. The Bible stories weren't trying to tell you to follow Jesus and worship him so you can go to heaven. No, he was telling you about the heavens, but it's because that's where you really are. It's your connection to self. It is your experiencing this incarnation. Like, people just think of everything on such a three-dimensional level. That's why I said everybody just gets so focused on how is it working in the dollhouse. But you have to look outside of the dollhouse. You have to look outside of what you think is rational, because this rational world that they created was only to manipulate you. So in the firmament thing, and, we project ourselves into this world so that we can have experiences. And like I said, that's why there's so many pockets of different experiences, why we're not all having the same experience, why we're not all living in the same reality. For Jesus Christ, we're not even all living in the same time, So it is, it's a very, it's not as formed as what we believe it is. The whole thing about that is the lies that we've been told. But so when I was watching this video, and I found that stuff with the rainbow so interesting, and it all goes together, like, with what I've been talking about. And then to go, he had some more stuff, and so I started watching the next one, and then this guy said something, and I was like, oh my God, I gotta go talk about this, because it all just was like coming together in my mind. And like I said, it starts being like a traffic jam in rush hour or something. So he said, instead of like calling people awakened or something, he said, once you've been illuminated. And I was just like, oh my gosh, the Illuminati. They are the illuminated ones. They are the ones who have seen through the illusion. They know what this world is. They have to go through those ceremonies, like what I was talking about when people become illuminated or awakened, or, you know, like hallucinogenics or whatever, these things that you can do so that you can understand beyond the firmament, beyond this comprehension, beyond what is rational. So they go through these ceremonies so that they can, and that's why they like conjure up, you know, devils or whatever, you know, they're conjuring, they're creating something. And which, by the way, I'll just throw this out there too, is, you know, like I've said before, I have like angels all around my house. I like, if I go to the thrift store, which I love to go to the thrift store, and I find most of them are wooden. Yeah, I think, no, I have a couple that are, you know, that, the gold kind, that are, people used to, it used to be a popular thing back in the like 50s and 60s, these, like this, not, it's kind of clay, I guess. And then they were painted gold. So I have some of those, but anyways, I have a lot of angels all around my house. And, you know, energetically, that is, you know, that's where I vibe, is that kind of, you know, it's about love and acceptance and healing and stuff. And so I was thinking about, you know, like the people who put all of that creepy kind of stuff, like devils and creepy stuff around their house, that is, it really does bring in that energy, you know. I think that you could go into that if you were picking up on energy. A lot of people could go into a situation and they're only going to think about how they're feeling, and, you know, if they're uncomfortable, if they're comfortable, if they're hungry, if they need to pee, what somebody said to them last week. You know, they're just always living in their own little world. But if you were picking up on an energy, I would think you would go into a house like that and you pick up on like a creepy vibe, a heavy kind of dark energy, because everything really does have an energy. And so, especially when you start putting a lot of those together. And I think like if you come into my house, it feels like a peaceful kind of place, but it's like the energy that is in the house. So anyways, if I go back to the Illuminati, so the illuminated ones, so the ones that have seen the truth, and they are, so if you think about this, so they go through ceremonies so that they become illuminated, so that they can see through the illusion, so that they can understand what this place is and why so many of them, it goes all the way back to their beginning of their ancestry. But also you got to remember, time is not relevant because there is no time. It's only ages. It's ages that we come into experience. We don't come into experience time. Time is a concept they created to entrap us and enslave us. So, and to put us off from our rhythms. I think I shared some TikToks about that too. How the calendar and, you know, how it's supposed to be a lot more like every 28 days, and then you have a day of rest, and then the next one starts, and it goes through these cycles. And that is how our cycles. So, you know, there's a reason why there's so many people with insomnia and stuff. They've messed up our cycles, our circadian rhythm. You know, it's put us out of balance. It's why people have problems with serotonin and all of these kinds of things, is because they've put us out of balance on purpose. So the illuminated ones have created an environment so they started creating like this negativity. You know, they made like the energy, like they had a space, and so then they began to fill it full of gargoyles and stuff like that. And then just lying to people. But they're, you know, but your higher self, I know my stomach's growling. Your higher self is projecting itself. It has no fear of this. There's no fear here. It knows that this isn't real. It projects its image through this color of all these different colors that are here. It projects its image like a hologram. But it's just so trippy if you think of yourself as being a hologram that has no awareness. It's a hologram, just like I was talking about. It's like you're an avatar in a video game, but you don't have any idea. You think the video game is what's real. You don't realize you're just a projection of yourself into a video game. So, but the other people in the video game who created the situation, the reality, the experience, they do know. And so they and you know, it is us becoming illuminated, becoming more crystal clear of what this world is. So when they have this knowledge, see, one of the reasons I think they wanted to keep this knowledge as, you know, the sacred few that could know, you know, you had to prove yourself and stuff, was because they had this idea that we would become like them. If we understood that this is just a projection, that this isn't real, then we would just go into mass slaughter. Well, who cares? I killed him. Who cares what I did to them? Who cares? You know, like, because that's how they are. They don't care. That's why we're watching this stuff that makes us all sick. You notice who it makes sick, because that isn't who we are. We aren't that energy. We are a higher energy than what this place is. That's part of the ascension, is the growth, the expansion of self to raise yourself out of that energy, because we have come into here and played a lot of dark parts. We have been evil to one another through these ideas of learning in this projection. So they come up with this, you know, scheme to keep us in the dark, you know, while the inversion is they're in the light, but they are of the dark. We are in the dark, but we are of the light. So that is this inversion. That is this, what is going to tip the other direction. And when it tips the other direction and we know our power and we take over this world and the light overcomes the dark. You see how it works? So, because you got to think of everything micro, macro, you know, and I know a lot of people don't understand that, but everything is a reflection of everything else as it goes out. So we are a reflection, but everything is a reflection, and everything is like a gradient. Like it starts as dark and moves out into light. So everything is representative of that growth. So you just have to, like, once you get an awareness of it, you start understanding it, you'll start seeing it. It will start being like, oh, this represents what everything about life is. There's all these representations all around us, because everything represents everything else. It's just like, what part do you catch it on? Do you catch it on, you know, the condensed part, or do you catch it in a more expansion of what it is, you know, showing? Everything is that, you know, like when they show like somebody on acid or something, like, and they will show them like move their hand, only there'll be thousands of hands, and this hand, like as it's moving, the most color would be coming from here, and then it would be going out. That's how everything is. That is everything. That is the projection of self. And I know that sounds crazy, and you know, but I know some people understand what I'm talking about. So anyways, they come up with this, so, you know, to keep us in the dark of who we are. But it has, you know, it has a toxic aspect. That is what, you know, people are having to learn about right now, is that they have to see themselves, because so many people have played a part to create this toxic world. So they have to see their part in it so that they can move out of that and move from dark to light. Remember who they are, because they aren't of the dark. They are of the light. And why I say this place is like hell. It's very low vibration. It's a very difficult place to be in. And a lot of people think like, oh, this is just life. No, when you get the idea of like, no, you're just like I've said before, it's like being in a spacesuit down here. You come into this to be in this reality. And when you understand what this reality is, then, you know, you understand what you're doing here. And so in the, you know, with your higher self is projecting itself into here, so it can, sorry, I'm talking too fast, I'm swallowing air. So, so when you are projecting yourself into here so that you can have this experience. So in this experience, so your higher self is already more elevated. Your higher self is out there, it's one of the stars out there dancing in space. It's movement and vibration and color. And when it's not embodied, it's just that. And that's why, there's so much of that around us, and so much of that consciousness is trying to speak to us. But so many people are so focused on what is happening in the illusion that they forget that there's anything out there. So they cut it off because they need to focus on the job at hand. And the job at hand is whatever they are here to experience. And what makes this experience unique is because we are transitioning. We're transitioning from being focused on what we're here to experience and to release our focus and change it. So we're changing our perspective. We're changing our understanding. And that is this ascension. That is this period of time that it goes from this one age to the next age. And it's all a part of this process of expansion for your soul, because your soul is already higher vibing than what you think that you are. But when you connect to your higher self, then you find, you are a higher vibration than what you believe to be. Here you can feel really down and depressed, and this place will hold you there. That's why you have to do physical things to change your reality, like changing the music, going out into nature, unplugging from the system, removing yourself from toxic situations. You have to recognize all of that stuff so that you can do the process, so that you can awaken and move out of this reality. And so, because we're going to create this other one. Another thing too that I thought was interesting, this just came to me, and I don't know, and I'm not trying to be scary or anything, but if you think of this place as being like this bubble, and it's on a leaf, and we have all of space. I mean, when you think of yourself as being in a bubble, on a leaf, on a tree, then you can imagine how really vast the universe truly is. And, we feel like we're huge, and we're just little tiny. So it's all in perception. And we can perceive ourselves to be real. We can feel things. And, but we're a projection. Like, can a hologram feel something? Can a projection feel something? Just think of the significance of that. So what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Okay. So when you're thinking about the map situation and you think about, all the water and the different islands, because everything is really just islands in water, whether how massive they are or how small they are, everything is just islands in water. It's just like, dry spots in the water, and however deep they go is however deep they go. But that's all that they all are. And then around us is this ice. And it's funny because this light thing that I have here, this illumination light that I have that holds my camera, it is the same thing. Like my camera right here, me in the middle of this, like, even if you looked at this as like the camera, the pictures, the chair, or myself, or whatever, is all of these islands of realities inside of this wall that goes around it. And it's all different dimensions, because some of it goes straight through. Like there's the wall behind it because there's nothing there. There's just a thing holding my camera. So it's multi-dimensional realities with the light illuminating this reality that is happening right here. So this light going around reminds me of the ice wall that goes around us, the ice wall that holds in this whole situation, the water and stuff, and how that ice wall has the firmament that goes up and that holds it in like it's a bubble. And so if we had this, okay, So if you just think about this, and I don't know that this is going to be, but this is an image that came to me. And so it was like in this huge expansion. And like I've said before, like how this is something when we're moving into the age of Aquarius, we're breaking free from this like firmament. This, we're going to take our place out in space and be a part of, what do they call it? Like the Galactic Federation. Other beings that are out there who, have figured out how to, I think it would be transverse, that's the word coming in my head, but I'm not sure, but, able to move freely out in space. They've understood, their consciousness has, more abilities. That's more of their higher self is what's out there. So their higher self, you say your higher self is out there somewhere. You aren't here like you think you're here. You're out there somewhere. You're just projecting yourself into here. So, and it's able to move through space and time differently. So in this projection, in this bubble that we are in, so the ice that goes around it to give it form, then when all of us are explosion of energy that with the mass understanding that changes it all, I was like, all of a sudden I saw it as like that being the explosion of the firmament, the explosion of this ice ring that holds us into this reality, because this reality is shifting into this other another state of being. It's elevating, it's going up higher in vibration. So essentially it is kind of like when they talk about this solar flash and stuff, it is this reality ceasing to exist because it is expanding, like I've talked about before, like another big bang. But all of a sudden when I was watching him talking about it, I was like, I got the image of the firmament and the ice all just exploding out. And that is our opportunity to move out of this contained bubble, this containment center. And it is why, they are ending. Their reign in this reality is ending. And that's why we will rebuild the reality, but it's not going to have the firmament. And I don't know that it's going to have the ice ring around it. I don't know how it's going to be contained like that. I think they're probably for, because you'd have to be more your evolved self. So more connected with your higher self. But so, if you think about that, then do we stop being a projection of ourselves into this reality? Because you need the firmament, you need the refracted light to project yourself. So it's quite interesting, because I've talked about this before. Like, I don't know all about this solar flash, how it all fits in, like what's going to happen. I know in the Book of One, it talks about the harvest, and the Sumerian tablets talk about the, what's to come as well. So there's something hugely expansive that's about to happen. And it's not going to be, like people think like, oh, it's the end of the world, a nuclear bomb, we're all going to die. And then maybe I'm going to go to hell. I wasn't ever like perfect. But that is all the illusion that they've been feeding you to keep you controlled. Because they needed you not to understand who and what you were, because they feared it. They were worried it would lose control. That's why they're trying to do this mass genocide, is because they want to have control. They fear not having control. And fear is part of what will stop existing. So when you hold on to fear, then as much as you're gripping onto it is, are you so fearful that, you think like, well, I'm going to get sick and die. And then that fear will take you into that experience. So, it's really important for you to focus, like I've said before about a zillion times. Focus on the positive, focus on what you want, focus on the future, focus on the light. And every time you have something come up, don't distract yourself, heal it, work on it, raise your vibration, keep expanding yourself, and don't limit yourself by how they tell you to think. You got to expand your thinking. Go out and become irrational. Start looking outside the box. Start looking into the supernatural, because then you will start seeing, like, looking up stuff about near-death experiences, about reincarnation, about aliens. Sumerian tablet stuff, are the ancient aliens, gives you a lot of stuff to think about, that show. So there's so much information out there when you can start putting it together, because so many people fear what is that they don't see, what they don't understand. They fear it. So they keep themselves cut off from it. They focus on what makes sense to them, the 3D. But the 3D is being manipulated, and this opportunity. The whole thing is we've been manipulated for so long, but it was part of the experience. But this experience is to move out of that. So that's why it's been illuminated to us, so that we can see it, so that we can move out of that energy. And so this expansion that is happening for our consciousness. But, I do find it quite interesting of really, because none of this is real. And so when it does, when this energetic, all of this consciousness energetically, is it going to be like I'm not saying like a 3-dimensional explosion, because it wouldn't feel like that. It would still be powerful, be energetic, but it will be just such an enveloped kind of understanding. Like we would all be, kind of sucked into this energy of this mass understanding that will propel us into another state of being. So, where people talk about light bodies and stuff, but like right now, see, we are already doing that. We are already, like what people are always talking about all the time, like some people are in the 3D, but some people are in the 4D, but some people are in the 5D. It's all in how you perceive this world. It's how you look at this world. What are you focused on? Are you focused on trying to make it in the system? Or are you focused on yourself, your healing? Are you focused on love? Are you focused on light? That is where you can understand where you're vibrating. And the more you connect with your higher self, the more you will, get into the vibration of your higher self. And then you will start to see that you are so much more than who you are and what you are. And, but that is part of their thing, is their fears. They do live in fear. They do live in the dark. And they try to keep us in the dark, because they do fear us coming awake. And that's why they try to treat us like sheep and stuff. Because, people show the idiocracy that's there. But instead of helping people develop, they've taken them the other direction. And so they've been developing idiocracy and fear and weakness and stuff in people. And that's why you have to connect to what's inside, so you can understand how much more you really are than all of that. You have to see it for yourself. You have to question things. You have to question this reality. You have to question, who you are in this reality. Because so many people just play their part. And there's so much evilness that people do to one another. And but they have to connect and face themselves. If your higher self, this is where people get this idea of like a God over them, because you have to face your higher self. You have to face yourself. And some people think of it as a God, and they're going to be shamed and stuff like that. But your higher self accepts you, because your higher self understands that you're here doing contracts, playing parts. So what you feel is shame and ignorant and embarrassed about and humiliated, or whatever the different things are that hold you back from facing yourself, you don't judge yourself for that. You know that you're here to play a part. You know you're here to expand yourself and to understand yourself and to help others understand themselves. So you don't have judgment on yourself. You just have to, it is a very humbling experience, because you have to just see yourself and, accept yourself. And that is this that is the whole thing about the ascension and growing and stuff. But anyways, it's very interesting to see, like, you know, will this reality actually change forms as this happens, you know, as we expand, as we go into, because when they talk about the earth is actually moving and changing its vibration, but the earth isn't something spinning out in space that's going all over. It is this reality. It's this bubble, you know. It will, the same as our minds opening, that bubble is going to open for us. And I don't know how much of it is going to be in the physical, or how much of it is going to be in the supernatural, you know. So anyways, that was some interesting stuff. I'm going to keep watching this guy's TikToks, because this is the documentary I saw about the flat earth. I've seen a couple, but the one that I shared the whole thing and people were just going crazy for it. This one is really good too. I don't know the name of it, but I am going to share a couple of the videos. And if somebody wants me to try and find, you know, I can always question the guy. What I noticed is when I share these TikToks, for some reason, YouTube and TikTok don't have, like, if you want to share something on Twitter or Instagram or something, you can just share it and it will go as that thing. But on these TikToks, I have to save the video, and then I have to go in and download the video onto the other one, so it doesn't link you, so you can't just click on it and go to that. So, but if somebody's interested in me trying to find out what that documentary is, if you watch this stuff and you're like, oh, I want to know more about what this guy's talking about, then you know, I can do some investigation. And but it is really interesting, and I'm going to share the ones about the rainbow and stuff. And there's a bunch of TikToks that I shared yesterday with a bunch of people talking about a whole bunch of different things that I've been talking about. So I was like, oh my God, this is so exciting. People are waking up, and they are really questioning what this place is and really understanding, you know, we are spiritual beings, and we are high spiritual beings, and we are projecting ourselves into here so that we can continue to understand and evolve as self. So anyways, hopefully some of that stuff made sense, and I'm going to go watch some more of that, so I might be back. Talk to you later. Bye.